Listen, the fact that Deontay Wilder was heavyweight champion of the world for 5 years, doesn't matter who you're beating, he beat his mandatories. I've never in my life seen anybody who's the heavyweight champion of the world more disrespected than what I've seen Deontay Wilder disrespected over the past 8 months. Like, they're making it seem like Deontay Wilder is a nobody. The guy had such a high knockout percentage, 10 successful title defenses. He beat the people who the sanctioning body put in front of him. What did you want him to do? So many people have lost the first time in boxing. You can go back to Joe Louis in 1936 when he lost to Max Schmeling, comes back and defeats Max Schmeling and rectifies the loss. There have been cases. Tommy Morrison got blown out by Ray Mercer. 20 months later, comes back, beats George Foreman to become the heavyweight champion of the world. But I'm pissed off that people have disrespected Deontay Wilder. The people in the UK support UK fighters. Why is it that here in the United States, American fight fans would rather support a fighter from overseas instead of one of your own homegrown champions? This is crazy to me. Like, how do we not support our own fighters? It is ludicrous.
What is good, Danger Zone Boxing Talk here on the Final Bell. As always, are your hosts, Twine B. Livity and BC Left Hook, also known as Malachi. Tonight we have a full panel. We should have one more guest joining us soon, hopefully. We'll go ahead and start the introductions to our guests. We're going to start with the man next to me. We're going to start with Jay from Hotboxingminute. Jay, you want to tell everybody about what you do on TikTok and where else they can follow you on social media?
Well, as far as just the stuff I do with boxing related stuff, it's mostly all on TikTok. I do have like an old YouTube page that I haven't maintained that has some old stupid schoolyard sparring stuff with me and my friends. I pretty much just do boxing talk conversation. I wouldn't say it's as in-depth and technical as what you're doing. A lot of it is just history lessons because I've read a lot of books and I realized that a lot of people don't know the history. But essentially, I talk about boxing as many different subjects and topics as I can, whether it be training techniques, approaches to boxing methodology, current boxing subjects and topics. And my current fascination right now is history. And I'm going over the whole Sonny Liston, civil rights era, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Patterson thing, Angelo Dundee. But I'll go from the 10s, 20s, 30s, all the way through. Like I get stuck in little zones, but that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, and that's at Hotboxingminute on TikTok if anyone's on TikTok and is interested. I enjoy your channel tremendously, and I congratulate you on your success. I believe you're at, 15K subscribers on
something
there
like
right
that.
now.
I think I'm at like 18 or something. It's fascinating.
18?
I don't know why people are listening to me.
I can't get to 2. That algorithm kills me. But anyway, we'll move on. And just below him is my guy from Heavy Bag Boxing, Rob. And Rob, you want to tell everybody where they can follow you at on social media as well?
What's up, everybody? You know, Rob Alexander. I'm with Heavy Bag Boxing at heavy-bagboxing.com. Podcast every Tuesday with Tough Talk Tuesday. So that's where I'm at. And you know, Malachi, you've been a guest on the show many times, so you know what it is.
Yes, sir. And I always appreciate coming on your show. And shout out to Lucas and the rest of the crew over there. And just next to him, you'll see one of the best boxing writers in the world, Gayle. I want to say it right, Gayle Lynn Falkenthal. Is that right?
Falkenthal.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
And she, again, one of my favorite writers. I always look forward to seeing you post your stuff. But I'll let you introduce yourself further and tell everybody where they can find you and follow you at.
Well, you see right there my name. Communities Digital News is the website I write for, which is actually a general interest news website out of Washington, D.C. My regular column is there. It's COMM, Digi, D-I-G-I News. So comdiginews.com. Last night's post was an interview with Franchon Cruz Dezern, the women's unified super middleweight champion, who will be fighting on the Garcia Campbell undercard this weekend. Big Mama is back. And right after the show tonight, I didn't want to blow up for you guys, but my column with all of my bests of the year will be posting a little later this evening.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to reading that as well. And right next to her is the man who actually is the first person to ever have me on any type of podcast form. And that is the man himself, Ingram Jones. And Ingram, you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know where they can follow you as well. Ingram.
Looks like his.
I think we have a frozen stream. It must be cold over there in the UK.
Yeah, I think Ingram froze out on us. So move on then until Ingram can get back on. Hopefully, you can get that issue fixed up. So let's go into our topics for the night. We're going to start off with the prospect of the year. Before we get into that, I just want to congratulate everybody on the panel. It was a tough year because there was a point where there weren't any fights and you had to keep the people that were following you and, keep their attention. But we made it through it, and of course, rougher on the fighters and everyone else. But congratulate everybody for what they've done in 2020. So for me personally, I'll kick it off. For me, the prospect of the year is Edgar Berlinga. I thought that I believe he won 3 fights this year. None of them made it out of the first round. That's 16 up, 16 down. But we'll move on. We'll start with Twine, and then we'll go from Twine to Gayle to Rob to Jay. Twine, who is your prospect of the year?
Well, first off, we got Sakura just joined us before we go in. So thank you for joining us, Sakura. Glad to have you back on with us. And you just in time for our first topic. We're going over the prospect of the year. Before I go into my selection, I'll let you go ahead and do your intro and let everybody know where they can find you, Sakura.
What's up, guys? Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for you guys inviting me to the end of the year show. This is Sakura A, and I'm with Boxing Playhouse as well as Heavy Bag Boxing. You can catch us on Tuesday nights with Heavy Bag Boxing on their Facebook or YouTube page, or you can catch me on Thursday nights with Boxing Playhouse, and we have Boxing Playhouse YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and IG.
Real fast for you, give your prospect. I want to say congratulations to Boxing Playhouse. I seen y'all hit 100K subscribers. Quite an accomplishment, and congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much, Mally. I was like so excited, but I was like, okay, now how can we get to 500,000?
Goals. I'm still trying to hit 50K over here. So, goals.
Oh, I'm sure you'll make it soon.
All right.
Maybe if I started dissing Canelo, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time, I don't mean to go into a rabbit hole, but every time I take up for Canelo, I lose 10 to 20 followers. They're like, no. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. I'm not.
Are people really that personal about Canelo?
They hate Canelo around here.
Wow.
I had no idea that you were losing fans because of that.
I can't figure out anything else because every time we do a show and I take up for Canelo, I'm real petty about looking at my subscribers every day. So I'll be like, man, I just lost 2 more, 3 more. Oh, well, it is what it is.
No worries, Malachi. We'll get some of them back when we have our debate about Canelo in the future, on a future episode, because we still got to get into that. But I'll go ahead and go into my selection for prospect of the year. I was kind of drawn between 2 different prospects, both fighting under the Top Rank umbrella. Of course, you got Edgar Berlinga and the other one being Elvis Rodriguez. Those are the 2 that have kind of impressed me the most. Going off of, I guess, opponent stature and records of opponents that they faced, I had to go with Edgar Berlinga by default based on that. So that's pretty much my selection. Hopefully we get to see more of him and get some rounds in so we can see more of his skill set and what else he has to offer if he gets taken some rounds. But that's my ultimate prospect of the year.
Awesome. So we're in agreement. Sakura, who is your 2020 prospect of the year?
Well, Well, I like Dennis Booth, but I guess he was on the list last year as well. So I'm gonna go with Berlinga. Without them KOs, how could I possibly resist?
Okay, that's 3 for 3. Gayle, you gonna break the streak?
No, I am not. I'm piling on. Not going rounds might hurt him down the road, but Berlanga's style inside and out of the ring, his personality, it gives him every ingredient to be a star. When you pick a prospect of the year, it's as much about the promise as the performance. And right now, there's a ton of promise. And who doesn't look forward to seeing him back in the ring to see if that streak will continue, right? So we're going to have to keep an eye on him, see what he can deliver in 2021. But it really is a pretty easy choice this year. Edgar Berlinga.
Agree. Now, Rob does like to be contrary. So, Rob, are you going to make it 5 for 5, or are you going to switch it up?
Gayle hit the nail on the head. Edgar Berlinga is the top choice. And the reason why is because of his star potential. He's actually coming up as like the undercard king right now. Everybody wants him on their undercard. I see him potentially being an undercard on several pay-per-views coming up in 2021 because he has that star power. So this kid not only morphed himself into a prospect of the year candidate, but morphed himself into a potential mega star.
Yeah.
Agreed. I had seen earlier, it was a couple days ago, a name had got mentioned as a potential opponent, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it is right now. Does anybody
I saw
seeing that?
Gabe Rosado mentioned.
That's who it was. After Jay gives us his prospect of the year, let's see if is that a fight anyone's actually interested for him in seeing? I'm not sure. Jay, before we get to that though, who is your 2020 prospect of the year?
Okay, first let me start this by saying that it kind of hurts because he slapped my boy in that last fight. That guy's from my gym. That's one of my day one dudes, CC Sierra. Oh man. And I seen CC do some amazing things in the gym, and I never seen him get sliced down like that. That was unbelievable. I heard Sakura. Did you say Jaron Ennis? I like Jaron Ennis, but I can't deny Edgar Berlanga. That as far as the whole package.
I didn't want to count him because I know that we're talking prospects, so some will argue that he's no longer a prospect.
I think Jaron Ennis still qualifies until he hits a belt, or until he hits like mainstream. I think Jaron Ennis is still a prospect, roughly.
27 fights as 28. He's had 28 professional fights. I mean, I think that's kind of beyond the
okay, so maybe he's not a prospect. Okay, maybe he's just.
He hasn't faced a contender though. Yeah. I don't mean to control. He hasn't faced a contender. I don't even think that he's faced anybody in the top 30.
But easily Edgar Berlanga though. I mean that he's the whole package. He's a good-looking kid. He could talk real well. He's got the whole Felix Trinidad Puerto Rico thing backing him up, and it's just, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's about to be the next crowned king of the Boricuas if it goes down that way, assuming he doesn't get slapped or get exposed. But all the fights I've seen him in, that kid's the truth.
Okay.
All right. Ingram, are you back with us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you guys now. Apologies. And hello to everyone in the room. My apologies.
No problem. Good to have you back. I think you got cut off before you got to tell everybody where they can follow you at. You want to give them that real fast, and then you'll go into your 2020 prospect of the year.
So it's BTWMonline, but today it'll be for you guys, it's BTWM Sports. We're on YouTube. We're on Android, Amazon TV, Twitch, Facebook. So yeah, we're there, doing it almost 10 years now. Most recent interview was with Derek James, and last night Tunde Jai with James Ali Bashir. So that's where we're at the moment.
Congratulations on the app, by the way, Ingram. Congratulations on the app.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Prospect of the year. Listen, I love Edgar Berlinga. He's my boy. But I'm going to say something a bit controversial here. If Ryan Garcia wins, do you consider Ryan Garcia a prospect or not? because if he goes out and he knocks Luke Campbell out in the first or second round, that would top anything that Edgar Berlinga would have done. And also to that, I would also say that the fight technically would have happened this year had not been for COVID. So does Ryan Garcia get a say in this or not?
Wasn't he already 2019 Ring Magazine Prospect of the Year though?
Look at Gayle.
We're not only.
Listen, I'm not a Ryan Garcia fan, but the point is, he steps up and he beats Luke Campbell when everyone's just Instagram star. Nobody's really considering.
I think
Ryan
he was already Prospect of the Year in 2019, I think, for Ring Magazine.
Yep.
But he didn't beat him. Yeah, he didn't fought nobody, has he?
He didn't beat nobody in 2020 worthy of being Prospect of the Year.
Ingram, you need to invest
Agreed.
in a calendar, my friend. It's going to be 2021 on Saturday.
I know, but I'm being devil's advocate here.
He's trying to move the goal.
Wait, hold on. Right? Technically, the fight would still have been in 2020 because of the COVID. That's it. The fight would have been 2020. That's the only reason why I'm bringing up Ryan Garcia.
But it's not.
So I kind of feel where he's going with this, because a lot of people feel like Ryan Garcia is above a prospect category right now. I don't. So I kind of see where he's going with this, because who is Ryan Garcia beat?
But the fight takes place in 2021.
That's the only issue. Right. That's the only issue.
2021.
Then Edgar Berlinga. I like Edgar Berlinga, but Berlinga hasn't been hit back yet. And we've seen it so many times in boxing, we hype a person up, we hype him up, they knock a guy out, and then they get hit back, and then we say it was a hype job. So Edgar Berlinga, I love him, my boy, but I just don't, me personally, not getting on a hype train until somebody hits Berlinga back and gives him some sort of opposition. So for me, I just want to hold off on the Edgar Berlinga hype just for a minute, because all he's doing is punching people, they're falling over. So
his chin is questionable though. His chin is questionable.
Right.
I've seen the videos.
Boots in this,
But training isn't a live fight, so.
right? So
No, it was an amateur fight, I think, wasn't it? It was an amateur fight, no?
Might have been, yeah.
So
But
I can't. I don't know. I'm a bit uncomfortable with the whole Edgar Berlinga thing. I love him. I love what he's doing, but nobody's hitting him back yet. So
Do you not give Campbell a chance against Garcia?
I think if Garcia jumps on Campbell early, I think he could stop him. If he jumps him early,
you might have an argument for Boots. You might have an argument for Boots.
That's what I'm saying. My Boots is the guy I'm kind of looking at the moment. But again, hey, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here. I'm not trying to be difficult, but
I was hoping you threw a UK fighter in the mix for, so we could kind of have some.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. He was going to say someone from the
look,
came at us with the American flavor.
I'm listen.
Is anybody going to mention Elvis Rodriguez? I thought that he had a great year too.
I brought him up.
Yeah.
I'll throw a guy out there.
Okay.
Ryan Charlton. That's the guy I'm going to throw it down. And now I've said a UK guy, and you'll look at me and go, "Who's that?" So
Right.
Look him up though.
Okay.
I'll give you somebody to check out and keep our eyes on, though. So thanks for that.
Ryan Charlton, he was a young man that was touted to be brought on to get beaten up on a matchroom card. Moved up in weight against a highly touted opponent, and he went out there and he basically blasted him out there, and he looks pretty good. Good hand speed, good power, good movement. Looks a very good talent. Based against a guy who was an amateur star and matchroom were pushing. So I think Ryan, and he's going to be in a big fight in January. So I would go in the UK, Ryan Charlton.
So why you didn't say him over Ennis?
Because I know Boots Ennis, and Boots Ennis, I interviewed him first early in his career. So when he had about one or two fights, I interviewed Boots Ennis, and he was on the channel regularly. So I would go Boots Ennis. That's only
okay.
You know,
it is.
The channel, but you know, boots in this is something. And it's a shame because I don't know what the hell's going on with Rashidi Ellis, because that's a man that I've really got my eyes on as well. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on from this topic. It was a clean sweep for Edgar. He did have a wonderful 2020. So our next, I believe. I'm sorry, Twine.
You want to go into as far as the talks about Berlinga and Gabe Rosado on for Puerto Rican Day Parade? Is that a good step up for him or too early for him?
Yeah, we can't real quick. It's a fight. I don't know if I'm interested in seeing. I know Gabe came out and a lot of people felt he won his last fight. I wasn't quite sure he won. Maybe it was a draw. I don't think early on I wasn't as impressed as a lot of people were. But I don't know if that's a fight I would like to see for Berlinga right now. I want to see him fight somebody like maybe he's fighting at what 68, 154, 168, right? Well, actually, that is a pretty good fight for him at 168. That is a good fight for him. So yeah, I would be interested. I would favor Edward Berlinga. I think he would get him out of the first round. Of course, I think he would finally find out what he can be past the first round. But yeah, kick it over to Twine. Are you interested in seeing that or what?
I definitely think this is a good step up fight. Gabe Rosado's already been looked at in the past as a journeyman. So it's a good step up, and I think we'll actually get some real live rounds out of it. You know, Gabe's been in there with any and everybody. Put up a great performance against Daniel Jacobs this year. So people are on the lookout for him again, at least just based off of that performance. So I'd definitely be interested in it just to see what Berlinga has to offer outside the first round knockouts, and if he can actually go some real live rounds with a bet.
Okay. We'll jump over to Jay. Jay, is that a fight you'd be interested in? If he was to win that fight, would then he become a contender in your eyes?
Possibly. I think if he showed some quality stuff in that Rosado fight, I think Rosado should just, I don't know, Rosado just taking a lot of damage over his career, but I don't think he'd get Rosado out in the first round. There's a lot of interesting matches in super middleweight. I don't think he's ready for, say, like a Benavidez or any of those guys or Munguia yet, but Rosado or a Hart or something would be kind of cool. But I think he needs like one good solid journeyman, like a solid person, and his hype train is so large, I could see them throwing a title fight his way by the end of next year or early 2022 possibly, because his hype train is just immense. When, like, who was mentioning earlier about how they want him on all the undercards, like when he's already got that kind of marketing value, they're going to try to push him to get a title as soon as possible.
Agreed. Rob, what would you be interested in that fight, and where would you gauge him after should he win?
Look, Rosado went rounds with Charlo. He went rounds with Triple G. He went a whole fight with Danny Jacobs. So if you're saying that Berlinga is a prospect, for him to step up and fight and beat like Rosado, that's showing you the full ceiling. That's showing you the full ceiling what he's capable of, especially if he knocks him out in the early rounds. So yeah, I absolutely want to see it. I want to see you guys. I want to see it next year because I really want to see what this guy is capable of.
I agreed. I want to see him get some rounds. Gayle, let's switch up the questions a little bit. Should he fight Rosado? Do you think he gets him out of there in under 5?
No, I don't. I think Rosado has very wisely changed his approach, which is why we got a technical fight out of him, much to a lot of people's surprise, against Danny Jacobs. And I'm of the opinion he won that fight, along with a lot of other people.
Yes.
So I think he'd present a very similar target for Berlinga. I think he'd make it real tough, which makes it a good fight for Berlinga. It will help him get some of those rounds that he really needs. But I don't expect necessarily fireworks. Rosado's a little too smart and battle tested for that. Doesn't mean he might not get him out of there, but I don't think that in the first half of the fight.
Okay. Sakura, what do you think about that fight, and where would you put him after that fight? Should he beat Rosado?
I mean, I think Gayle hit the nail right on the question when she said that, you know, he's a little bit more game than it might benefit him in that particular fight. You know, what was the second question?
Should he beat Rosado? Does that make him a contender in your eyes, or does he need to beat an actual contender first?
I mean, I think we've seen enough of that. We know, you know, because the last fight was supposed to be like a step up fight for him. So we need to see him against what we all consider prize fighters, and he deserves that fight because he did win against Jacob. I'll say it. And so with that being said, why not team him up with Berlinga and let's see what happens. I mean, if he is who he says he is, we're going to still get to see that KO, baby. But if we don't, then we at least know that he's finally caught up to the level of competition that he needs to be in that ring with. So for me, if he does win that fight, then I would definitely, you know, put him in the top 5 of 168. I mean, it'd be right there at 5, but you're still cracking, you know, the upper half of that 168 division.
He has called out all the fighters at the top of the division, including Canelo. He's even kind of insinuated, you know, there's a few of them are scared of him. We'll see how that works out. Now, yeah, he's called out all the champions at 168.
Oh, he's not ready. He's not ready for those guys. I don't think he is.
I don't either. We need to see at least something from him first, something like the Rosado fight. Now, the one person on the panel that was a little bit iffy about making him the prospect of the year was you, Ingram. Would this fight, should he fight Rosado, would that answer a lot of the questions you have for him, or you need to see him fight someone else, I take?
No. First of all, I don't want him fighting Rosado. Rosado's got too many miles on the clock, and if he beats up Rosado, it's well, everyone else is beating up Rosado. I'm not a fan of Rosado. I'm not a fan of Danny Jacobs. I'd actually like to see him in with David Lemieux, because David Lemieux can punch. David Lemieux's not a great boxer. He's not got a great chin, and he's at the kind of tail end of his career, but he still can punch. So that would answer some questions about Berlinga. So, for example, Berlinga can't just rush out there against Lemieux, because Lemieux can punch. He can crack. So he has to use a bit more boxing brain. And then, you know, if he does catch Lemieux has not got the world's greatest chin. So it's a good fight there. I learned a lot more from that fight against Lemieux than I do against Rosado. Rosado's got lots of miles on the clock. I've seen Rosado get beat up so many times. I don't really want to see that. But I'd like to see Lemieux fight, because I'm thinking to myself, if Lemieux catches Berlinga clean, we know he can go. That's what makes that fight more exciting. There's less miles on the clock for Lemieux, and I think that's a better fight. 2 big punches in there going at it rather than Rosado. I don't want to see it. I'm not a fan of Rosado. I'm not a fan of Danny Jacobs. They both need to sit down and let Lemieux fight. If I'm matchmaking, let Lemieux fight Berlinga in a real big punch off. I was
about to ask you though, like when Rosado versus Jacobs happened, I mean, did you think that was a fight that
I went to bed?
Beat up?
I went to bed. It was the guy. I went to bed. It was the guy, glad to be here, Jacobs, and the other guy just talked too damn much in Rosado. So as soon as it was mentioned, Rosado, Jacobs, and Rosado, I said, right, I'm going to bed, and I went to bed. That was it.
No. I'm not asking about.
Glad to be here.
I asked who did you favor? Did you think that was a fight in which Rosado was going to get?
I favored my pillow and my bed. That's it. I do not talk about them 2 guys. None of them. None of them.
That fight was a sleeper. That was a snoozer.
There's certain people in boxing that you just don't. I just will not talk about. I will not give them airtime. Jacobs and Rosado, that pair them. I want Charlo to knock the pair of them out. If they could, he could knock the pair of them out and get rid of them. I know that he's ready for Rosado, but I would like to see Charlo get rid of Danny Jacobs and we can move on. I just don't want to see any more Danny Jacobs fights. Since the Canelo fight, I'm fed up with Danny Jacobs. I'm just fed up with him. That's just my personal opinion. I just can't watch him. So I'm not going to waste my time staying up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Rosado and Jacobs. Sorry. I'm a boxing diva in that sense. I can't watch it. I can't do it. Sorry.
My fault.
Yeah, that would have put me
bro. OU's playing. I don't know if y'all heard me jump up and down, but OU's playing Florida, and OU's my favorite football team. But so I apologize for that. But Twine, we're gonna go to you next. Do you like that fight for him or not?
I kind of, after listening to Ingram, I kind of think Lemieux is a good test for him. But I mean, I think I would favor Rosado still as far as being that next step up. I think Lemieux is a step up from a huge step up from Rosado. And is a lot more dangerous as far as putting them in there. And when you got a guy that's coming off a Prospect of the Year award, pretty much by every magazine or major outlet. That's a risky fight that could damage a prospect and their path that they have for them. So that's kind of why I would favor the Rosado fight. Plus, you have the fan base as far as the Puerto Ricans. So it brings in a nice little crowd just based on that, and everybody would be interested in him having the step up fight. Period. And Gabe Rosado has a solid name for that at this time in his career.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's a little bit too early to throw him in there with David. As he stated, he's got the power to knock you out. It's still early in his career. And if he were to suffer a loss like that this early in his career, as someone else had stated, he would get painted a hype job. He was all a hype job. And you got to protect these guys' reputations early on until they get to the point that they don't suffer such a tremendous reputation loss should they take an L. I do believe we protect people's O's a little too long in boxing now, but that's a topic for another day. We'll move on to our next topic, the comeback fighter of 2020. For me, in my personal opinion, I am going with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. They had back on 9/9 of 2017, they literally put this man in a grave and said he's done. Max Kellerman said he was a shot fighter, that we would never see him on the championship level again. And Roman went out there and not only won a strap this year, he defended that strap this year. And he's parlaying that into a fight with one of the best fighters in the world currently, Juan Estrada. I'm very much looking forward to that fight. But we'll start with Gayle. Gayle, who was your comeback fighter of 2020? You're on mute.
Pardon me, guys. I gave some thought to Errol Spence Jr. because of the comeback from his car accident. But in the end, I had to go with Chocolatito because he was absolutely, you're right, 100% written off. Those 2 fights with Sor Rungvisai, especially the second one, where he suffered a devastating knockout, a shocker, and worse if you were ringside. He'd lost his longtime trainer who had died. He just seemed like a broken man, both mentally and physically. But like all great champions, they get off the canvas after getting beat up. Champions get up, shake it off, figure out a way to get back. And he may not be the fighter he was 5 or 10 years ago, but he's still head and shoulders above almost everyone. And it's giving us a fight we've waited for 8 years, this rematch with Estrada. And I'm right there with you. I cannot wait. March 13th. Come on.
Agreed. Now we're going to jump over to Rob because me and Rob are at odds here because according to Rob, Nothing below 130 matters. You can't be on the pound for pound list if you're under 130, according to Rob. I think he's the only. I think he's the only one in the business that I respect that actually has that opinion. But I'm gonna go to Rob. Rob, who was your 2020 comeback fighter of the year?
Listen, this was hard. This was hard because of COVID. Most fighters only fought once, if at all. And very few fought twice. So when you look over the list here, you could go with Spence, but he didn't have a loss. You know, he's coming back from an injury, from a car wreck. So, and he just returned to his normal form. You could go with Sean Porter, you know, because he lost to Spence. He came back, but who did he fight? You could go with Chocolatito. But you know what my issue is there, Malachi, right? He didn't avenge a loss. He didn't come back and avenge a loss. He didn't refight Roman Visal. He didn't fight Estrada. Fight Estrada next year. Yeah, he came back and won the title, but did he fight the best in the division?
Well, the kid he fought was 20. The kid was 26-0, a former Olympian, and Roman went out there and dominated him. So I mean, you could say, well, who was the guy? But the guy was a legitimate champion, 26-0, former Olympian, and Roman just looked like a level above him. He looked like, you know, there were glimpses of the old Chocolatito. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'll let you go ahead and go from there.
You're absolutely right. In that fight, in a weight class where there are not a lot of names to mention, and he didn't fight any of the names to mention.
What? They got Carlos Cuadras. I don't mean to interrupt. They got Carlos Cuadras, Estrada. There is a ton of guys. It's your bias against the guys below 130, my guy. It's what it is.
He did not fight this year. That he did not fight. Long story
Estrada
short,
was fighting Cuadras. Estrada fought Cuadras. How was he supposed to make a? This is an argument for another day.
Chocolatito did not fight them. No. Long story short, if I had to go back to comeback fighters of the year, I'm going with Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. Okay, these guys.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
I came back 20 years.
You are lucky.
And
you are lucky that I'm not driving the ship. I'd kick you off the stream.
I'm only doing it because okay. Because who else can you give it to? I'm not giving it to Chocolate.
Guys, I hear some version of this every week.
My sympathy to you.
This is bad, Rob. This is bad, Rob.
Oh my God.
This is the Rob that I'm sure Lucas wants to fire.
I'll give you guys credit for the entertainment value, but come on. Seriously?
I mean, they do have. I feel you, Rob. They had the highest selling pay-per-view of the year. So
yeah.
They did that.
And they came back and they put on a show. The only other fighter to me that was worthy of it would have been a Pedraza. Okay, because Pedraza had 2 fights. He won 2 fights this year, but he still, again, didn't fight nobody. So, who would you give it to? I'm giving it to Roy Jones and Mike Tyson.
All right, fine. We're going to move on, though, to Ingram. Ingram, who is your 2020 comeback fighter of the year? And please don't say Mike Tyson or Roy Jones.
I'm going with Errol Spence because a lot of people wrote Errol Spence off. They said that he wouldn't come back. They said that he was finished after the car accident. He wouldn't be the same fighter again. He's got a new set of teeth. I remember watching him speaking. I'm thinking, this guy's slurring his words. Even up to the day before the fight, he was talking very slow. I'm thinking, now this guy's not coming back. This guy's going to do nothing. And then against Danny Garcia, who everybody knows how Danny Garcia is. He always gives you a tough fight. He's in the top 5 of the welterweights. So you know what you're getting with Danny Garcia. And I was surprised at how good Spence looked in his comeback. So I'm giving it to Errol Spence. Car accident, you could say, well, that was self-inflicted because of the way he lives outside the ring. Fair enough. But he still came back from an accident where a lot of people thought he wouldn't come back. A lot of people who were supposedly experts, said he wouldn't come back. He was more than a dead man working. He wasn't coming back. So for him to come back to beat Danny Garcia, and in the fashion to beat Danny Garcia, I've never seen nobody make Danny Garcia go back to the corner so disheartened the way Spence did, and almost looked like he'd stopped Danny Garcia. So for me to come back at that level, straight to the top, no warm up, against a top 5 welterweight, a former unified champion, I think, you know, so I give it to Errol Spence. But I hear what Gayle's saying. I definitely hear what Gayle's saying. 115, 113, Gayle.
No, he'd be a fine choice too. I don't have any problem with choosing Spence as an alternative. It's better than Mike Tyson and Roy Jones.
Well, you know what? Mike comes in number 3. Mike comes in number 3. Mike does come in number 3.
Oh my goodness!
Mike,
wow. The integrity of the show is in jeopardy.
I'm fine. I'm fine with my pick. I stand by my pick because it's COVID. You really can't. You really can't call it. Nobody fought this shit.
Well, we're gonna jump over to Sakura. Who was your comeback 2020 fighter of the year?
Well, it definitely wasn't Kirkland, was it?
That's
low.
Hey,
he lost in the first round again, didn't he? Now, I don't mean to. Ever since, I think every fight he's fought without Ann Wolf. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't he been just destroyed early in the round, like early in the fight?
Early in the fight, yeah, definitely.
He's undefeated with Ann Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. That's correct. He needs to get back over there as soon as possible. Whatever beef they had is there. He needs to squash it and get back to his career is over.
I don't think
she would have never even let him take that fight. She would have been like, "What the heck? This guy got so many KOs, like on his record." The opponent, I'm like, I wouldn't have had him come back on that type of opponent. So somebody's not looking out for his best interests for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually say Triple G, guys. I feel like his fight with Darenchenko, I feel like he lost that fight. I really do. And
no one needs to sit down.
Yeah. So then when I saw him fight last month here in Florida, you know what? I was really impressed. I thought he looked really good in that fight. So that was a comeback for me. And then I definitely would have the backups of Errol Spence, but I think a lot of that was played up. I really do at this point. The way he looked in the ring, I'm like, they made it seem like he was about, there was no way, that he could come back. I think it's just the way that car accident looked. You know what I'm saying? That made people feel like it was so devastating. But he hadn't lost a beat when he was in that ring at all.
Photographs of him in the hospital, though. He looked out. He looked gone completely.
It's just bruises. I mean, it's just superficial stuff going on.
Bruises.
That's all it was. I mean, you're sitting up there arguing your own point away. You said that he looked amazing in the ring. You look amazing in the ring if you really was hurt the way that situation made it look like he was hurt. So I'm going to go with the fact that I'm going to have him as my second runner-up. And then I definitely like Chocolatito's style of coming back and, showing us hopefully a whole new career, for a couple of more years. Because I definitely was one of them people that Malachi was talking about. I was like, shit, he needs to sit down. So, prove me wrong. So that's the comeback.
Agreed. All right, we'll jump over to Jay before we get to Twine. Jay, who was your 2020 comeback fighter of the year?
Y'all had really good points. You guys covered all the people I would have mentioned. I wouldn't have mentioned Mike Tyson, but it was a beautiful fight, though. I was glad to see Mike Tyson could still move. For me, it's Chocolatito, and I'm very partial to Chocolatito. I don't really know why the Associated Press wrote him off after losing twice, and he's totally out of the pound-for-pound discussion. Because when I see him, he might have lost a little bit of a step, but he's still really well-balanced, really good with his defensive and his shot placement, and I still think he's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the game. But yeah, Chocolatito, that's an easy one for me. I think Roman Gonzalez is an awesome fighter, and this is going to be good when he fights Estrada again, because it's interesting because I feel like he can beat Estrada again, but what happens when he gets back to Sarung Vasai? I don't know. Clearly, he's got stylistic mismatches with Sarung Vasai, and they're going to have to clash again if he beats Estrada.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I would definitely want and I don't think they could even ask for it, but before I fought him again, I'd try to find a way to get some type of rehydration clause, because he gets so much bigger than Chocolatito after the weigh-in. Just in my opinion, and the way it looks like it's a lot bigger than him, maybe almost 2 divisions bigger than him when they get in the ring. Just my opinion again.
Oh, you calling him a weight bully, Mally.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, again, I have never been the one. And this is not on that topic, but I've never been the one to hold it against these guys who are able to cut weight, make weight, and then blow up. It is what it is. It takes a huge toll on your body to cut weight. If you can cut all that weight, stay elite, by all means do it. I have nothing against you. I'm not going to call you a weight bully. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, if I'm in Chocolatito's camp and there's any way possible to get, if I do fight him again, I need a rehydration clause, just in my opinion. But Twine, we'll jump over to you. I know we had our disagreement earlier when I posted my Chocolatito video. You said that he didn't deserve it. So who are you going with for 2020 Comeback Fighter of the Year?
I mean, for me, it was an easy selection. I'm in agreement with Ingram as far as Errol Spence. To come back from that type of accident and to put on the kind of performance he did against what people consider a top 5 welterweight, and Danny Garcia was incredible. I mean, we've interviewed Derek James plenty of times, a couple times on our show. And, even seeing Errol talk about there was times where he wanted to give up, and trying to make his comeback because, he didn't feel like he could go. So, I mean, that feels like a more of a comeback story than Chocolatito. I wish Ingram was on so we could talk about Calify a little bit more. I've never thought highly of him, honestly. So I actually picked Chocolatito to win that fight in the fashion he did. I've never been impressed with Calify. So, I mean, I didn't really consider that something comeback worthy. Like, I thought that was an easy fight for him, or a very winnable fight for him, because I've never been impressed with the fight. So, I mean, I'd had to give it to Spence ultimately, just because I feel like, I mean, it's not so much of any Ponzienza story, but it's close enough. Where he came back from what could have possibly been a brink of death and even more injuries, God willing, but it has that kind of feel to me for it as far as the storyline, and I mean, it was a kind of easy choice for me to go with Errol Spence for this year.
All right. Speaking of Derek James, we'll get into the 2020 Trainer of the Year, and that is exactly who is my Trainer of the Year, Derek James. All due respect to Junior Lopez, also known as Teofimo Lopez Sr., in the job that he done with his son and beating who many perceive to be the pound-for-pound king. At the end of the day, for me, Derek, I believe he is the only trainer in boxing currently with 2 undisputed champions. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's to be the case. Whether or not that is true is still going to have him as my Trainer of the Year. Both his fighters looked exceptional this year. Look at everything they had to deal with COVID. Charlo looked outstanding. He got one of the I've never seen anybody get stopped with a body punch in the manner that they stopped Homie in. And then, as we've all stated, that was crazy. And then we've all stated on here the excellent performance of Errol Spence Jr. And I think a lot of that credit should go to Derek James and the way he handled it, how he brought him along in the gym. I know a lot of people were worried going into is he mentally stable? Is he physically? Having spent a little time talking to Derek, and I said the same thing then, he's not going to put that guy in the ring if he doesn't fully believe 100% that he's ready to go. So for me, it is Derek James. We'll start with Jay. Jay, who was your 2020 Trainer of the Year?
Man, now that you say Derek James, I was thinking Reynoso, just because Immaculate Canelo looked in his last fighter. I was thinking Andre Rozier, be honest, I couldn't really pick any names. COVID made it very interesting to make these selections because it like kind of cut down the boxing year. But I was gonna go with Reynoso, but Derek James probably has the best case, to be honest, like subjectively. I can't take. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna pick Reynoso, but Derek James is definitely a considering for. Whenever I see Canelo in a new fight, he picks up new little stylistic tricks, and you got to give that up to the Reynoso for giving him those. I don't know if it's Eddie or Chep, but whichever one is giving him those skill techniques. He adds new twist to his game, and that's on good training. And we'll find out when the eye test comes with Ryan Garcia whether or not he really is. He picks up good skills because Campbell should be a good test of his defensive capabilities because I feel like he's real defensively liable. But I mean, now that you mentioned Derek James, I'm torn. But my original pick was Reynoso, but Derek James he's one hell of a coach. Good Lord.
Agree. All right, Rob, who is your 2020 Trainer of the Year?
Derek James, hands down. Charlo and Arrow and Spence. That's the case right there, hands down.
Okay, that was short and sweet. Ingram, is it going to be 4 for 4 for Derek James? Or are you going to switch it up on us?
No shadow of a doubt. Derek James, 2 unified champions in his gym. So Derek James.
Gayle?
Come on, let's make it unanimous. No one else is even close. Derek James.
Agreed. Sakura, who do you have in mind?
Well, you know what? I am going with Reynoso, but not for the same reason that was mentioned earlier. It's because there's so many boxers that have gone to work with him now at this point, and they all show improvement. You know, you got Ryan Garcia over there, you got Ruiz there, you got I forgot
Oscar Valdez.
Valdez is there. Francis is there.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, I feel like overall he has a lot. Well, it's a lot of talent in that gym before they got there, but we can actually see improvements that are being made with those boxers based on that coaching tutelage. So I'm gonna go with him, and I do, of course, love Derek James. So I mean, why not give him a 10? I'll be generous tonight.
Okay, Twine. I believe I already know your answer, but I'll go ahead and let you give us your 2020 Trainer of the Year too.
Definitely going with Brother DJ. I mean, it shouldn't be really up for debate. 2 unified champions. I mean, I think it's a shame on the major outlets that have picked Junior Lopez. No disrespect to him. You know, we're a fan of him. He's been on our show. But, I mean, it just doesn't do it for me. You know, 2 undisputed champions. And, you know, when Anatoly Lomachenko had 2 undisputed champions, it was our 2 unified champions. It was no problem giving it to him. I'm not sure why it wasn't the case this year.
Oh, did I freeze?
Oh.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, but I'm not sure why Derek James didn't get the nod because Anatoly Lomachenko was given a Trainer of the Year for the same situation, having 2 unified champions under his umbrella. You know, between Alexander Usyk and his son, of course. So I mean, I got to give that same credence to Derek James. Very easy decision for me.
Understood. There is an argument for the job Junior has done on Teofimo. But before we get into Fighter of the Year, we're going to go into KO of the Year. That's what the fans love, is the knockout. I'll kick mine off. There were a ton of great knockouts this year, but none was more dramatic for me than Povetkin knocking out White in the manner in which he did. That wins my KO of the year. We'll go with Twine first. Twine, who do you have for knockout of the year? What was your favorite knockout this year?
You actually make a good point, Malachi, for once in your life. But that definitely was a good point. But I had to go with Tank over Santa Cruz. That was just as crucial to me. Knocking out a guy that's never been out. I think he may have been on the canvas once in his career, and I think that was actually him taking a knee or something like that. So, I mean, for him to knock out Leo Santa Cruz, a guy that's known for his chin, I had to give it to him. You know, Dillian White's been knocked all over the damn place throughout his career. So I mean, him getting knocked out is not a surprise to me.
Okay, Sakura, who do you have for your KO of the year?
Oh, okay. Dang, you know what? Ooh, I was struggling with this one because I just saw a reel today that PBC put out. But I said, you know what? It has to go back to my man. I forget his name. Dang, I forgot his name just that fast. It was on ESPN, guys.
What, the Zepeda and Barrett? Zepeda?
Zepeda, yes, Zepeda. That fight was amazing from beginning to end. I love that fight. And, you know, I'm all about the action myself. So I had to go with Zepeda on that. That knockout was like one of those fold down situations, you know. So that was definitely my knockout of the year.
Okay, Ingram.
Tank Davis against Leo Santa Cruz. His knockout was spectacular against a guy who's never been knocked out before. Often we talk about rising stars and prospects, and Santa Cruz was getting on top of Gervonta Davis at the time. He was starting to get on top, and Cruz ended the fight with one shot, which was really good against a world-class opponent. And there were question marks whether Gervonta Davis would actually have won that fight or not. So for me, I'm giving it to Gervonta Davis. It was a brutal knockout.
Okay. And Gayle.
You know, it was the year of the uppercut, wasn't it? All the great knockouts and a lot of great knockdowns were from uppercuts this year. Canelo landed some wicked good uppercuts on Callum Smith, but I digress. The Davis uppercut was beautiful, but, you know, when a man can knock someone out with a single uppercut punch who outweighs him by 30 pounds, that gets my respect. So, Alexander Povetkin, you're my man this year for that knockout of Dillian.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. Rob, hey, in the way he did it after getting off the canvas 2 times, it was just perfect timing. But Rob, what gets your KO of the year?
You know, for me, and the tell of this one is the reaction of Leo Santa Cruz after getting knocked out. He smiled. So even he acknowledged the fact that was the knockout of the year. So I went with Tank Leo Santa Cruz.
You're evil. You're so evil.
He has a soft spot. She has a soft spot for him. So, but we'll go over to Jay. Jay, what was your 2020 knockout of the year?
Okay, I just want to give an honorable mention, and I mentioned this to you earlier. That Senesaya Estrada knockout, even though she was horrifically overmatched for that girl that she fought, the fastest knockout in women boxing history in 7 seconds. She walked across that ring and in 7 seconds gave her a 2 pizza and a biscuit, and it was vicious. Vicious the way she folded that girl. She was 42 years old. She was a 5-0 journeyman, so I got to give it a journeywoman. But yeah, I would have to go with the Povetkin knockout. I like, obviously the Tank knockout was something brutal too, but Povetkin, for the same thing that Gayle said, he was a smaller dude, and he was not winning that fight by any means up until that knockout. Well, Tank wasn't really winning that fight either, but yeah, the Povetkin knockout for sure.
But can I just very quickly on that point? Dillian White had been dropped by Joseph Parker, been dropped by Rivas, got knocked up by Anthony Joshua. Leo Santa Cruz has never been knocked out before.
That's a valid argument. That is a valid argument.
You're right.
But we'll move. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Jay. What do you want to say?
No, it's pretty much a 50-50 split between both of them for me. And the main deciding factor for me was that Povetkin was a lot smaller because Tank is a lot bigger naturally than Leo. Leo's not even a real lightweight. Like, Leo's a small guy. He should not have been fighting at that weight. He needs to stay at like featherweight. Really, he's not a big dude.
Yeah, we talked about that on Heavy Bad Boxing, about how we should rate that win for him, and that was one of the top things that got brought up was, Leo is a smaller guy. And Rob disagrees
from you guys. from you
I know
guys.
me and Lucas, but we are the ones who keep it honest. So hey, we'll move on to fight of the year. And for me, it was Zepeda and God, his name Baranchik.
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 That fight was exciting from start to finish. 8 knockdowns, should have been 9, I believe. They ruled, I think, one knockdown, a slip. But definitely the fight of the year for me. There were some other candidates, so I don't know if everyone's going to pick that fight. We'll start with Gayle. Gayle, what is your fight of the year?
Oh, hell no, there were none other candidates. That's the fight of the year. And the fact that it came during the pandemic, delivered by 2 guys that, we had no expectations that were going to deliver at that level. And how many times watching that fight did you stand up, or maybe stood up the whole time saying, I can't believe what I just saw. What the hell did I do?
Yes.
Oh my God. If we all recorded ourselves, there'd be multiples of that. That's when it's a fight of the year. There were some other great fights, and I'm incredibly grateful we got as many decent fights as we did, considering the situation. But I really figured we wouldn't have anything else to choose from other than Wilder Fury 2, and we did. But that seems like a hands-down choice to me.
Great. Ingram, do you get a sway from the pick?
What Gayle says is absolutely correct. However, from a monetary basis and just being pure selfish, Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce is my fight of the year, only because I made a ton of money on it. I got a lot of hack people telling me, Daniel Dubois.
Ingram can be bought.
Yeah, so I commentated live on it, and I had my mate right beside me, so I could basically tell him what for afterwards. So that's why it was fight of the year for me. So I got a lot of personal things off my chest that night, and got some good money for it, and was able to put a few people back in their place, which was quite nice.
Hey, I had picked Joyce going into that fight. I like Joyce going into that fight, so I called that one.
No.
So I totally agree with Gayle in terms of the knockdowns. That fight was probably the most exciting, entertaining fight of the year. But in terms of monetary gain and told you so's, that fight was it. Joyce Dubois.
I didn't see that fight being one that was brought up, so thank you for that. Sakura, what is your 2020 fight of the year?
I'm sticking with Zepeda. He never fails me, guys. He's always had. Remember the other time he had that fight of the year too, like 2 years ago. I mean, the guy never fails me when it comes to action. So I got to stick with that fight. I mean, and I do like the way. How you say his last name? Baranchik. I like the way he fell, and he was like, I just like the way he fell, and he didn't get back up. Like, I knew that was the end immediately. Like, it was similar to Santa Cruz, but I didn't like that because that's one of my babies. I love him.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best people in boxing, as far as being a sweetheart. So I don't want to see him like that no more. I hope he don't. I need him to stop asking for the rematch. I really do.
All right, Rob, what was your 2020 fight of the year?
Listen, one of the greatest fights, the greatest fight I've ever seen in life was Castillo versus Corrales. Zepeda versus Baranchik had that same feel. It just didn't go to rounds like that fight. It really did have that same feel. So that fight was just crazy. The amount of knockdowns that went on. The knockout was crazy. The drama, because both of these guys were barred for top of the division because they both were hungry for another title shot. And they both gave it their all. And that's all you can ask for in this sport, especially during COVID times. Look, they both put it on the line and put it out there more than a lot of top name fighters did this year. You got to give your hats off to them.
Oh, see, you're showing your teddy bear side. It only happens a couple of times.
We'll go to Jay. Jay, what was your 2020 fight of the year?
I just want to say, like what Gayle was saying earlier, like in my living room with me when I was watching that Baron Check Zepeda fight, and I was screaming at the TV. I was like, "Oh my God, this is fight of the year! This is like Hagler Hearns! Like this is insane! These guys are beating the snot out of each other!" Like, oh, that without a question, I don't really see any fight even remotely close. I haven't seen anything like that spectacle in a long time. Like he said that Diego Corrales fight, like the last time something like that happened, but it really reminded me of Hearns Hagler. Like they were just really bad intentions the whole time, and it was almost like a anime rumble. Like it didn't even make sense. They just kept hitting the ground, and like, are they really knocking each other out? Are they knocking each other down? Like, oh yeah, hands down poetry. That was a symphony of violent poetry. Woo.
Agreed. I enjoyed every minute of it. Twine, the only one of us that didn't pick that fight. So are you gonna break the streak or what?
Nah, I got to roll with Zepeda and Baranchik as well. Just the drama involved. I mean, even the emotional side, personal side for Zepeda. You know, you listen to his post-fight interview and saying like he had to really dig inside himself because you know he has a lot of fear getting in the ring and has a lot of doubt within himself. So seeing him overcome that in the fashion he did to have an outstanding knockout. And I mean, I'm always one for people getting folded in half. Like, you know, that looked like an ACL injury, you know, seeing him go down like that. So it was a lot of drama in that fight. And, you know, it was exciting for as long as it lasted. So, I mean, it was a pretty easy call for me.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's go to our 2020 Fighter of the Year. For me, there is no other choice. It is the King, Teofimo Lopez. Slayed the dragon, took down the man that most people considered the Matrix, and he did it in a fashion I think very few people saw coming. He outboxed the quote-unquote perfect boxer, and he stripped him not only of his straps, but of his number one pound-for-pound ranking for some people. Me personally, I had Canelo there, rightfully so, I believe. But for me, there is no other choice. It's Teofimo Lopez. He is the king, and he'll prove it otherwise. We'll go to you, Twine. I see you wanting to comment here. So who was your 2020 Fighter of the Year?
Fighter of the Year, I definitely have to agree with you on that one. I mean, to be somebody up there at the near top pound per pound rankings, you know, probably between 1 and 3 in the top pound per pound, depending on who you talk to. Definitely in the fashion he beat him in, because I mean, leading up to the fight, we thought he was going to bully him, and he actually came out and outboxed the guy that people thought would outclass him if it turned into a boxing match. So I mean, I definitely say he's my Fighter of the Year just because that was probably one of the biggest fights of the year. Arguably upset of the year, depending on who you talk to, as well. So I mean, it definitely leaves me with that. He's my Fighter of the Year just for that.
Okay, Sakura, who is your 2020 Fighter of the Year?
Jessica McCaskill, baby. Beautified
That's a good pick.
World champion of welterweight division. She slayed her own dragon. And that is the 10-year, 12-year reigning champion, Cecilia Brackets. I mean, she had to go in there and she had to dig deep and she had to be clever. And of course, everybody had her as the underdog just about in that bout. And she didn't let that deter her with all her struggles and everything. So she gets my vote.
I can respect that. Gayle, who is your 2020 Fighter of the Year?
Well, that is such a good choice. And you could argue that Jessica should win Upset of the Year too, really, for that win over Breakus. But it is hard to deny Teofimo Lopez. He didn't only talk the talk, he walked the walk. He said he was going to deliver, and he stood and delivered. And if you have Lomachenko in the top 1, 2, or 3 of pound for pound, and this is the guy that beat him, You know, how can you deny it? Super exciting and so smart of ESPN to make that a free cable fight in this era. Maybe they lost a little bit of revenue, but now everybody is going to buy that next fight with Lopez. They are going to get back that investment and then some. So good for them. Terrific fight. Absolutely the right strategy. You know, he even made his crazy dad look good. So there we are.
We love Junior over here. Junior.
Who doesn't love
he's awesome, dude.
Junior? And you know, and let's just add this: he's 23 years old, and he's running toward the danger, not away from it. He wants to fight everybody. He puts up. Who doesn't love that? And it looks like a lot of his other young colleagues, the Devin Haney's, the Davises, the Ryan Garcias, are saying the same. And if he is helping put the pressure on them to seek big fights, another feather in his cap. Good for him.
Agreed. That was an excellent point too that you made at the end about him maybe forcing other fighters to fight big fights. Ingram, who is your 2020 fighter of the year?
Thank you, Teofimo Lopez, for getting rid of Lomachenko. As far as I'm concerned, I am so glad that Teofimo Lopez came along and beat Lomachenko, because I was just fed up of hearing how great he was, how great a fight he was, the best fight ever. You know, I'm just glad to have just got rid of him. And congratulations to Teofimo Lopez, a breath of fresh air. And I follow up with Gayle as well by saying that he wants to take on all comers. He wants the smoke, and I can believe him, and just wants to get paid. So, yeah, Teofimo Lopez.
Agree. All right, Rob, who is your 2020 fighter of the year?
Pass.
Why? Because you don't want to have to say
We want to know.
You were so... Because you know it's Teofimo, but you don't want to give Teofimo the credit, right?
Teofimo Lopez, okay? He gets the credit. You have to give it to him. As far as his ceiling goes, we shall see. We shall see, is all I'm going to say. Because as I've been telling everybody, Lomachenko is not who y'all thought he was. Teo proved it. But Teofimo Lopez gets the nod because you're right. He morphed himself from a prospect to champion to undisputed to pound for pound, all in 1 year, all by one fight. So you have to give it to him. You know, I'm gonna clap for him this year. Next year it's a different story.
All right. Jay, who's your 2020 fighter of the year?
Okay, let me say that McCaskill was a great pick. That was such a great victory for boxing, period, because I didn't see Breckhouse losing to McCaskill. That was crazy. And I'm looking forward to that rematch because I love Cecilia Breckhouse. She is a pioneer and a trailblazer. She's one of my favorites.
Definitely.
Now, the purist in me, the hardcore technical purist in me loves Teofimo Lopez's fighter of the year, but I also take into account my friends that are casuals. And as far as who shifted the culture and pushed the dialogue, Tyson Fury, it will be my dude. Like the way he just mollywopped Deontay Wilder and got everybody in this big conspiracy theorist nonsense. Like it was kind of crazy and just shifting the dialogue of the culture. And albeit it is a bad thing for American boxing to not have a heavyweight championship belt in our country. It's always dark days when we don't have one of the heavyweight straps in our country because Americans are just lame like that. If we don't have the biggest of the belts, we don't care about the sport. It's pretty pathetic. But Tyson Fury is my fighter of the year. And Teofimo Lopez makes a really good argument, though, for dethroning Lomachenko.
Agreed. I believe Ring even made Tyson Fury co-fighter of the year as well. I have no problem with Tyson Fury winning the award either. Just for me, for what Teofimo was able to do, as Gayle said, at the age of 23, the man went out there and he slayed the Matrix. And
my favorite
he did exactly what it was.
My favorite thing about what Teo did, what Teo did that makes it so special is that more than anything, he's forcing all the other fighters in their respective divisions to take a look at what their motivations are, because it's very clear and obvious Teofimo wants legacy. Like, and that's beautiful. I mean, money's a big factor, but he's clearly headhunting for the biggest names to put on his mantle, and we need that in boxing because, good Lord, I mean, I love Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, but they need to stop with this prima donna internet BS and just get back to scrapping like the Arguellos and the Pryors back in the day. Like, this is so bad for boxing. It's good, but it's bad. Like, they really should.
Arguello's doing the same thing right now. He's kind of taking on a diva role already for me, which, you know, I mean, he deserves it for the fight. But I mean, I think he's kind of turning into a diva already, a little bit too soon. But you know, we'll pay attention to it next year and see who he actually fights.
He's starting to flare up a little bit, but I think he's doing it now that he's finally got to where he can do that at the perch, because he's at the top of the mountain and everybody's looking, how do they even get up to that mountain? Like, how is Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia going to even catch up to where he is right now?
Suleiman, he's not the WBC champ. That's from Suleiman himself. So I mean, let's see that Devin Haney fight if it can happen.
Suleiman's also the same one who told us that the franchise strap made it undisputed by putting it on their website. So he can't come back and say, oh, no, he's not the undisputed champion. When I looked at your website before the fight, you had it undisputed underneath the fight. I was like, so you now all of a sudden you want to switch. First you tell us you can't win the franchise, then you can win the franchise. Like, I'm so done with him and everything. Like, no disrespect, because the WBC is the most prestigious belt in boxing. But I'm so done with him switching up everything when it fits his narrative. Because he told us, I swear, early on, am I wrong? He said you cannot win the franchise. Then you could win the franchise. Now, oh well, no, it's not the undisputed. Well, because months ago Haney made it clear.
Haney has the WBC belt, right? Haney, they emailed him that, right?
He's got the WBC race. Yeah.
He's got the regular title.
But they made it clearly apparent that the belt that Lomachenko had trumped the belt that Haney had. Now all of a sudden he wants to go back on that. And so, you know, he ought to be a politician as much flip-flopping as he wants to do on this franchise.
The belt is starting to become one of the worst sanctioning bodies in boxing, along with the WBA. Like, those two, I can't stand them right now. WBA and the WBC, like, I can't stand either organization right now.
Well, the WBA, I mean, this is a different topic, but the WBA strap, the super strap, is worthless right now. Canelo hasn't defended it in, 2 years? Manny Pacquiao hasn't defended it. So the WBA super strap is trash right now. It's more trash than the WBC franchise because at least it's been defended lately.
I'm fine with your argument, Malachi. So fight Devin Haney. Get it over with.
And don't let the money stop you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's starting to throw that up against every fighter now, you know, after one fight. So I guess we could go.
Devin got to beat somebody in my.
I guess I'm the only one that likes WBC. You know why I love WBC? Because the boxers love WBC, honey. They want one of them green belts bad. Because they know once they
green belt,
then they're going to get paid. So I
don't understand Haney getting so much flack for it because Loma denied it. Loma didn't want to fight him as a mandatory. So, I mean, the whole email thing is not his fault. He's kind of receiving the bad end of it.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I just like saying it.
Yeah, it's funny, but I'm just saying, like, it's not really his fault. You know, you got to put that on Suleiman.
It isn't. I do feel like Haney has a real light resume, though. He really doesn't have a body of work to justify him having a WBC strap. Like, I mean, Gamboa.
What sense does it make that Ryan Garcia has already married a parent that even though this fight with Luke Campbell should put him in line to fight Devin Haney, he's not interested in fighting Devin Haney. He wants to go fight for the WBA regular versus Tank Davis. You know what I mean? So what? I mean, what's the point of fighting for this interim strap if you don't even want it? Like, you don't even want it. You want no part of Devin Haney. You want to go fight Tank Davis, which makes no sense to me because I think you're gonna get brutally knocked out versus Tank, versus you know, at least you're gonna go to 12 most likely versus Devin.
Malachi, it's the money. Tank is getting pay-per-view money, honey.
And they've thrown Javier Fortuna all the way to the back of the bus. You know, this is all the way back.
Well, Well, we'll get to our last topic of the night. Unbelievably, one of the best fights of the year takes place tonight. I believe it'll be 4 a.m. our time. For those in the United States, it was not picked up by one of our networks. However, if you can stream BT Sports, in the UK, they did pick up the fight, and I believe it will be airing on BT Sports at 4 a.m. Eastern. You'd have to figure out your own time zone on that, or if it's even worth you staying up for. For me, it is. Super excited for this fight. Was excited when they announced it. You got a 2-division world champion in Kazuto Ioka defending his strap versus a 3-division world champion who has basically done everything that Lomachenko and everything that Inoue has done, and he's done it at a younger age. I believe this will be if he wins, this will be his 4th division strap.
Yeah.
And Tanaka is unbelievable. I favor Tanaka in the fight, even though there is valid reasons to favor Ioka. He's the bigger man. He's also been in with the better competition. He has more championship rounds. I just think it's Tanaka's time. I'm taking Tanaka. We'll go to Twine. Twine, who are you got in this fight?
I'm actually picking Tanaka as well in this fight. I mean, he's the bigger guy, you know. In my opinion, he gets hit a lot pretty easily, but I mean, he's always withstood the challenges, and he's been impressive to me in his career so far. I'm interested in seeing how he does at 115. There's a lot of dangerous guys in that division. We've seen Naoya Inoue hop, skip, and jump over it. So I want to see him stick around at least and see if we can get some mega fights out of him there. But I'm going with Kosei Tanaka in this one by decision.
Okay. I got Tanaka by late round stoppage. I think it's going to be a war nonstop. I don't mean to jump in there. I forgot to give my prediction on that. I do think that it's going to be a war. Thinking it's going to go past 8. But I think that the attrition of punches and the pressure that Tanaka continues to put on you in that fight, in the pocket, he has an uncanny ability to slip punches and hit you back. He also he is very good at catching punches with his guard inside. I think he'll get inside, and I think he'll make it a war. Ioka is tough, but again, I think he's going to stop him. Sakura, who do you got in this fight?
I gotta go against you. I'm going for Ioka because I want the championship, the 4th one. So I'm doing this emotionally, okay? Don't ask me to be technical right now with this one, because I think everything that you're saying about Tanaka, yes, it's true, but I'm going with that old dog. I'm gonna see what he can do. He has the experience. So I'm going to stick with him.
That's a good pick. Gayle, who do you like in this fight?
It's Year of the Youth Movement. Lomachenko and Tanaka's going to beat Ioka. There we have it.
What do you think the key for his victory in that fight is going to be?
I do think it's going to get into later rounds, and I think stamina is going to be an issue. I think punch output's going to be an issue. I think it's going to be a war of attrition, and the younger fighter is going to have the edge.
Agreed. All right, Ingram, who you like in this fight?
I have to be honest, I don't know either guy, but now I know it's on BT Sports. I'll be watching it tomorrow night and being educated. So yeah.
Enjoy it.
I'm definitely going to be enjoying it.
It's definitely one of the best fights of the year in the lower weight classes, and we get it right off the bat in 2021. Now, Rob, as I stated earlier, does hold a grudge against the smaller fighters, but we'll go over to Rob, and I know he knows who both of them are. He's just not going to admit that they're great fighters because they're below 130. But Rob, who do you like in this fight?
Listen, there's a reason why this fight is on at 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve. No one's going to watch it.
Yeah, because it's in Japan.
It's in Japan. That's why.
It's in Japan. It's in Japan. If it was being held in the United States, it would have already been on TV, Rob.
Sure it would. Sure, but they didn't pick it up. No, I like the champion guys because I don't like these guys coming in at 25 years old, being 15-0. If anybody showed us that, Lomachenko did. You know, you can't be 15-0 and not have the experience. I always like the experience. The champion is a big champion in that, and he's a promising champion. He's 32 years old. He holds all the titles. He's putting the titles on the line. He has the most to risk. He has the most experience. And I think the key in the fight actually is going to be the later rounds. So I think he's going to be able to take the youngster in the later rounds. He's not going to feel a lot of power because of the weight that they're in. And he's going to be able to outpoint him. So even though I don't like
have you looked at their, I still have some say that they have no power. But if you looked at these two guys' knockout percentage, what are you saying they have no power?
At that weight, maybe.
No.
At that weight, maybe.
All right. That's another thing, another topic for the other day, because me and you could debate this all night, and I'm not gonna put everybody through that. All right, Jay.
I knew these two guys and had some great, points on them, so that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, they're beasts, man. You know what I mean? But Jay, who do you got in this fight, and why?
I feel like a jerk because I'm definitely more familiar with like Inoue, Murata, and Nakatani than I am with Tanaka and Ioka. I'll be honest about that one. I only know them on a real surface, just kind of glancing, seeing little articles and seeing some clips here and there. I'm intrigued to see Tanaka get his fourth division. That would be interesting. Tanaka's beat up quite a few of my Filipino people, so that's fascinating, and I'm partial to that because. But I would love to see an Asian fighter get a fourth division because I think that's just great for boxing. And I would love to see the next Manny Pacquiao come from somewhere, 4 or 5 divisions coming in and just, showing American audiences a different look that boxing is such an international sport. But I would pick, like what Gayle mentioned earlier, Tanaka on the youth. I think it'll get down towards the later rounds, and that being young, spry, and less than 30 is gonna count for something. The weight's a factor because he is kind of moving up in the weight class, but I think he'll get the decision.
All right. Well, that's the conclusion of our show. I want to thank everybody for coming on.
Was Garcia on this weekend? Garcia, Campbell?
Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell on Saturday.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
That is right. I had forgot about that. All right. We'll make our pick in that. For me, Garcia better come with something more than that 2 and that 3. He's not bringing a guy up from a lower weight class in this fight. Luke Campbell's he's going to have to go into his bag in this fight. I think it's going to take him into waters he's never been in. I don't know if Ryan is ready for this type of fight. So we'll find out. We'll find out a lot of answers about Ryan here. I am going to take Ryan. I'm very on the edge though, taking Luke. I'm gonna take Ryan. Golden Boy can't afford for him to lose this fight. He is their biggest star currently on their roster. I mean, you go look at his Instagram. That alone will tell you who's the biggest star. All due respect, I think Virgil Ortiz is the better fighter, better prospect, but the biggest star they currently got is Ryan Garcia, and they can't afford for him to fail. I do think he'll win, and I think if it's close, he may get that Golden Boy favor from the judges a little bit, but we'll see. Twine, who you like in that fight?
For the first time in my life in a championship fight, even though it's for the interim belt, I'm going to go with Luke Campbell. I just think he has the better intangibles. Garcia, this is the biggest fight in Garcia's life, in his pro career up to this date. He hasn't went many rounds, which has me more curious on seeing if he can go to the latter stages of the fight, how he holds up. So that's my main concern, seeing if he has the level of attrition to go to 12 rounds for this title, and that's why I think Luke Campbell will win this fight because I have it going the distance. Campbell's another one that hasn't been down, so for that reason, I'm not sure whether necessarily the knockout that we see from Ryan Garcia against the level of competition he's been in so far. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of Luke Campbell, never have been, never picked him in the championship fight, but I think this is the one for him. This is what, 4th time? They say three times is a charm, and this will be his 4th. I mean, you got to win one eventually, damn. So I'm going with Campbell.
Okay. Hey, by the way, Oklahoma just beat Florida by 35 points. What did y'all beat them? Like, didn't y'all beat them like in overtime? Yeah. Oh, you beat them down. By the way, I'm just putting that out there for
Malachi,
Twine
they didn't
because
have no players. They didn't have any players play for Florida. That doesn't count.
we still would have beat them down. It wouldn't have mattered. But Sakura, I know you are sweet on Ryan. He is your boy, so I don't expect you to take Luke. But tell me why you're taking Ryan.
You know what? I mean, if it was just based on looks, then yeah, obviously Ryan. But but I don't know who to pick in this, guys. I think that this is like a kind of like one of those evenly type things. But if it doesn't go the distance, then I do have to go with it being Ryan that stops him. Now, if it goes the whole 12, then we might be looking at a scorecard draw, type of draw type fight. I don't know. But for me, I just can't pick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm wimping out on this one because I do like Luke Campbell as well. I think he is more skilled than people give him credit for.
All right.
Before
we go on, let me go ahead and throw out Gayle's pick. She's going with picking Ryan Garcia with a late round stoppage, I believe. She had to go, but yeah, she's picking Ryan Garcia with the late round stoppage.
Okay.
All right. Well, Ingram, I know you're not very high because we've had conversations about what your thoughts on Luke Campbell, but so I'd be surprised if you're taking him in this fight. But who are you taking in this fight?
Yeah, you've got the internet boxer or the Instagram boxer versus the guy with glass ribs. I like Luke Campbell, okay? I like him, and he's the more skilled fighter. But he's vulnerable. And Ryan Garcia is got the momentum. Campbell's coming off a loss. I think Garcia can improve. I don't think Campbell can improve. So it's just... It's like you're asking me who do I want to pick between Trump and.
All right.
Like that.
Got deep. Got deep.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean,
I'm liking him more and more, Mally. I'm liking him.
All right, Rob. Who you got in that fight?
Well, I wish Gayle would have stayed on because I do agree with her about the youth movement. I think this is the youth movement to look forward to. Ryan Garcia. I like Ryan Garcia. Luke Campbell, to me, yeah, he's a technical fighter. He stays in there long. He tries to last. But I don't ever see him try to really win the fight against top competition. He hasn't really won a fight against real top level competition. And Ryan Garcia is, like you said, he can't lose this fight. He loses everything to lose this fight. He's getting better and better. He's trained over there with Canelo's camp now. So he's done nothing but improve. I think I like Ryan Garcia in this fight. I like him big. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a knockout. That's the only credit I'll give Luke Campbell on the night is if he can last 12 rounds.
Okay. All right. Jay, you think that Ryan can win this fight or are you going with Luke?
I like Luke Campbell. He's a solid dude. I think it's going to go all 12 rounds, and it's going to be one of those highly debated decisions that's going to go in favor of Ryan Garcia. I believe it's going to be some golden boy magic sprinkled in there. But I think he'll win by decision. I don't see it being a knockout, and I think it's going to be a good fight. As far as I can tell, Ryan Garcia, he really hasn't passed the eye test yet. That's the thing about all those young guys that came in with the Shakur Stevens. Well, Shakur Stevens got a little bit test, but I mean, Devin Haney, Ryan, we haven't seen any of them get really tested yet. And for me, I don't buy onto any hype train until I see them get tested. I want to see what they look like when they get questioned. Like we saw what, Lopez did with Nakatani. He looked like he was broken at the end of that fight. Like, dang, what am I doing? And he recovered quite nicely. I want to see what Ryan Garcia does against Campbell, but I think it's going to be a close fight. And I think it's going to be one we're going to argue about afterwards. Like, how did he get that decision? But I think it's going to go a split decision in favor of Garcia.
All right. Well, We've been on for an hour and 34 minutes. I think this is our longest show of all time. I want to thank everybody that came on and gave their opinions on all the awards for 2020. Looking forward to 2021. Real fast, as quick as possible. One name. What fighter you think makes the biggest leap in 2021? I'm going to go first. I'm going with Virgil Ortiz. I think Virgil Ortiz puts himself in position for a title shot by the end of this year. Twine, real fast, one name. Who you going with?
Shakur Stevenson.
I going with Sakura. All right. Ingram.
Rashidi Ellis.
All right. Sakura.
All of them. Everybody you guys mentioned. I think that's really the year of the youngsters that's really going to take over 2021. Just based on the fact that all of them are like right before, they're going to the contender zone. And we're starting to see where some of them are putting themselves in position for these titles. And that's along all of the different weight classes too. So,
all right, Rob, who you think makes a big jump in 2021?
Tank.
I knew you were going to say that.
How much bigger of a jump? So what's he going to do?
Why Tank?
Yeah.
Because he's the new pay-per-view star. And like I called it earlier.
How?
The new Floyd Mayweather. He's the new Floyd Mayweather. Look for the bigger and better fights. And look for him to knock them all out.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I just don't know how much he won 2 belts in 2 different weight classes in one fight. I couldn't believe they let him fight for the 130 and the 135 strap. That was unbelievable. So I don't know how much bigger of a jump he can make unless he goes up to 135 and takes all the belts, which I don't see happening. I think Teofimo Lopez would pretty much beat him up, but that's my opinion. Again,
get knocked out.
I
think he would get knocked out.
I don't think that he would get knocked out, but we'll argue that another time. Jay, is there a fighter you're expecting big things from in 2021?
Well, I've always been a big Virgil Ortiz Jr. fan. I'm very partial to Robert Garcia boxing, but is this AJ Tyson Fury thing going to happen next year? Is that for sure?
No, there's still an arbitration with Deontay Wilder, and it's not looking in their favor right now for what I've been hearing.
I was gonna say if Tyson Fury fights AJ, it's gonna be Tyson's year because I think he'll beat AJ, and that's a big thing to say. But yeah, if not Tyson Fury, Virgil Ortiz Jr. I think Virgil Ortiz Jr. is right at the cusp of really just breaking to mainstream American audiences, and I don't know why he's not larger than he is. That dude is awesome. But yeah,
he needs to fight a name like maybe an aging name. Trying to think though, really who's in that weight class that's an aging fighter. Well, there's a few.
Who Sinners are in the same category right now as far as needing to fight top 10 guys.
But yeah, they're both too dangerous in their division. Nobody wants to touch them because they're at that weird phase of like they're just too dangerous. Like, what do the elite guys have to gain by losing to Boots or Virgil Ortiz? And that's likely they can beat the elites. Yeah,
and I don't see either of them winning the title until this whole Spence Crawford thing is done. So that's probably another year. Errol says he only has 2 or 3 fights left in the division. It's looking like 2. So I mean, like they're not going to get their chance until that whole thing is situated.
So I just have a question there for y'all. You're throwing Virgil Ortiz. You're throwing Virgil Ortiz in the mix, but then you question me with Tank. So my question is what has he done right now to make anybody see him?
Well, the question was who's going to make the biggest jump in 2021. Right, so the question was who's going to make the biggest jump. So Tank's already a world champion. It would literally, for Tank to make a big jump in 2021, in my opinion, he would have to go out and unify 135 or 130.
Exactly. Not even only unify. Why can't he be undisputed?
It's not going to happen.
He's proving that work. He's proving that work.
To unify right now.
If only you had this type of criticism when it comes to Canelo sometimes.
What criticism?
Canelo.
Did you not hear Boo Boo? Did you not hear Boo Boo at the end of that fight? Even he admitted we as fighters got to stop waiting around to suck off, so to speak, the tit of Canelo. We're all begging for the Canelo fight, but you got each other. You got each other.
That man.
But I'm saying, is it not the truth? We agree he doesn't have the right to say that because he turned down.
You're very critical of other boxers. Let's not change the subject. Let's hone in on what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you are very critical when it comes to other boxers, but when you get on that Canelo train, honey,
Canelo is the A side.
No flaws, no bad fights, or no bouts that he's had that was some bullshit. Okay, I'm gonna just say it like it is.
No,
you do not have this type of criticism for him.
I scored the Laura fight a draw. What did Laura do? What did Laura do after the 6th round? He did nothing but run. He ran. He didn't want to engage. The minute Canelo started punching him in the body, he wanted no part of Canelo, and he ran. I know the difference between lateral movement and running. He ran. He wanted no part of it.
In them same rounds, buddy.
He ran. Canelo. I went into the fight picking Laura. I said for 3 years, Laura can beat this guy. Laura's better than him. I had casuals laughing at me because they never even heard. I was like, Laura's going to beat this guy. Laura's better than him. And for 5 rounds, he was doing just like Kell Brook versus Errol Spence. When I picked Kell Brook to win the fight for the first 5 rounds, he did exactly what I said he was going to do. And then the minute that Canelo started touching him to the body, he wanted no part of Canelo after that. He was running. And I know the difference between lateral movement and running, and he was running.
And you just proved my point again, Malachi. I'm done. It's okay. Let's
All right,
calm down.
Well, we're going to close the show at that. And once again, thank you for everybody for coming on.
Malachi, I have some news for you.
Yes.
It's just news. I understand that Tony Bellew is on the comeback trail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad idea. The way he got knocked out that last time I see him in the ring, I don't really. You might want to
you're going to get Wilder Fury 3 as well, so get ready for that.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Because we want to see is the case of what's going to happen. Contract. So get ready.
I don't know why everybody is against this fight when, I mean, it's just as possible that Wilder could come back and win. What the hell is people going to do if he comes up and knock the hell out of Fury?
Most of us believe that Fury won both those fights. Most of us.
Wilder, his age, cannot learn to fight on his back foot at that age. At that age, it's a done deal. Unless he spends like 2-3 years just solid doing drilling back footwork. He doesn't know how to fight on his back foot.
He don't have to learn how to box on a back foot. All he got to do is learn how to use his right hook on a back foot. He ain't got to make no damn huge ass changes in boxing or whatever. He's not a boxer, like, style wise. He's never going to be that. What he has to do is learn how to use the talent he has, even if he is forced on his back feet. So you can best believe in that camp. That is one thing that they are really targeting and honing in.
Now, is Mark Braylon still in that camp? Because they need Mark Braylon there.
No, Braylon fired.
See,
but my point is see how in America this is what they do. Okay, yeah, they hype you up. Okay, all these knockouts is like 5 years consecutive WBC champion, all KOs. And then the moment you lose one fight, you're trash. You're done.
That's American audience for you.
That's a UK fan. That's why I like UK fans for that. They gonna ride it down.
I never
They boxers. They gonna ride it down. If that's their man from the beginning. That's their man to the end. That's it.
I've never said he was trash.
Off one fight.
Wilder's not trash.
No, I believe he lost both fights, though. I don't.
Me too.
Once Fury got up off the mat and Fury figured out if I fight off my front foot and go at this dude, right? Wilder had no answer. Once Fury got up and was like, "Fuck it, now I got to come forward. I got to come forward and fight." He realized, you know what? This fool cannot fight and go backwards.
Once he got up, that was a knockout.
But he won all the other rounds except for the rounds that he got knocked down in.
But that was his answer, Malachi. He had a 15 count.
He actually said that he had Larry winning 8-4 against Canelo. So I mean, the draw is kind of far fetched. Malachi.
I don't even believe in you have to count. Anybody else that was laid out on that floor like that and going up the escalator of heaven would have been waved off. It wouldn't have been, let me look and see what the outside ref is counting. No, they would have been waved off like, dang, this motherfucker's gone. Like, so that's where we differ. I'm not about to do no count and sit there and try to figure out how many minutes.
There's a person you know as well as anyone here. You've been to the fights. You've called the fights. There is a person counting on the outside of the ring. It's not like the referee.
That's what I just
turned
said,
around.
Malachi. That's what I just said. I said there is no looking outside the ring to see the count. You see the man is out completely, and you wave that off.
9 times out of 10, I would have
make no count. Look at him and be like, look back at him and be like, 7.
Well, I digress. That's a topic for another day. We got to close out.
No, you know he was knocked out cold, Malachi.
He got up in 10.
I wouldn't do if I had that much time.
He got up.
How much time? What do you mean how much time? It was only 10 seconds. He was only on the field.
Not
even 10 seconds. He got up.
You know he was knocked out cold. You know it. It was any other fight, it would have been completely waved off right away. As soon as they seen his eyes closed, he's looking up in the heavens.
That's conjecture. That's conjecture, and I don't deal in conjecture. But,
it's not conjecture. It's not. It's what it is the reality of refs when they see somebody completely knocked out. That's what it is.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close the show there. Twine, you're driving the truck, so you gotta be the one to push the button. But again, I want to thank everybody for coming on. Love all you guys. Love your platforms. I'm gonna continue to support you guys, man, and can't wait to have more conversations in 2021 with you guys. And we out.